how much damage towards the end? Did it get worse?
Well, it was a table on I was mentioning, so considering all in all, it was a solid race. Copy.
It was supposed to be a comeback, a redemption story, a weekend where Ferrari would finally silence the critics and show the SF25 wasn't just a red concept, but a real contender. But instead, what unfolded was a disaster in real time, not behind headlines or closed doors, but through the clearest medium possible, the team radio. What was captured wasn't just frustration. It was a full-blown communication breakdown between Ferrari and its two superstar drivers, broadcast live for the world to hear. Midway through the Canadian Grand Prix, something snapped. First came the confusion, then disbelief, and then rage. Both Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc lost their composure, not due to crashes or bad luck, but because of pit wall decisions that made no sense. Instructions changed mid-lap. Responses were delayed or missing altogether. The chaos didn't just ruin a race, it shattered trust. And it all played out live, on the airwaves. The leaked radio messages have now gone viral. They aren't just angry outbursts, they're undeniable proof of a team in crisis. Leclerc questioned pit calls like a man left out of the loop. Hamilton, normally composed, sounded like someone trapped in a situation spiralling out of control. And Ferrari? Calmly responding to mayhem like it was routine. This wasn't just poor strategy. This was trust breaking down, word by word. And if you want to know what it sounds like when one of the biggest teams in F1 begins to unravel, you only need to hit play. Coming into the Canadian GP, Ferrari was optimistic. The car had new upgrades. The garage was buzzing. Charles was smiling again. Hamilton, suited in red, looked focused, even excited. It was supposed to be a turning point, immediate and loud. Ferrari had ignored his feedback. Hamilton's situation was no better. At one point, he sounded unsure if his car was even in one piece. The handling was off. Braking inconsistent. Yet, from the pit wall, everything looks balanced. The disbelief in his voice was clear. This wasn't a slow car, it was a mess, and all of it was live. No hiding it, no editing. The strategy errors, the communication collapse, the growing tension, it played out like unscripted drama. What should have been a statement weekend for Ferrari turned into one of their most embarrassing public failures in years. Then came the leak. Actual word-for-word transmissions pulled the curtain back on the Ferrari garage. The first voice, Leclerc, irritated and confused. Why did we box? His tyres were still solid. He hadn't requested a stop. Moments earlier, he had suggested, "I think Plan C." Ferrari's response, "We are on Plan B." Normally, that sounds strategic. But this wasn't. Leclerc was managing the situation. He gave input. Ferrari ignored it. Two separate races seemed to be unfolding, one from the cockpit, one from a control room that wasn't listening. On Hamilton's side, the tone was different. "No rear. Brake pedals gone. Why is this car so slow?" he radioed, clearly alarmed. The reply? "It's balanced." Balanced. Like they were describing a yoga pose, not a malfunctioning F1 car. The disconnect was stunning. Fans weren't just watching F1, they were watching a farce. The radio messages felt scripted for comedy. Within minutes, the internet lit up. Memes, rewinds, viral clips. Ferrari wasn't just under pressure. They looked like they didn't know how to talk to their own drivers. Then, something changed. The shouting stopped. The sarcasm faded. What was left was worse. Resignation. Leclerc, once sharp and questioning, became quiet. "I don't understand this choice," he said softly. No anger, just confusion. A driver no longer in control of his own race. Hamilton's messages shifted too. "Where have I lost 25 seconds? Not as an accusation, but as a plea. There was no answer, just silence. The kind of silence that tells you even the team doesn't know what's happening. It was the kind of collapse you don't hear over engine noise. Not drama, not ego. Just heartbreak, lap after lap, as two world-class drivers tried to hold it together while everything else fell apart. Ferrari's responses? vague instructions, reassuring tones. Copy that, over and over, with no clear action behind it. It felt like a team stalling, hoping the storm would pass. But the damage was already done. Because this wasn't just bad luck or one bad pit stop, it revealed something deeper. Ferrari's strategic core is broken. Decisions felt random. Driver input was ignored. Communication completely disconnected. Leclerc told the team his tyres were fine, calm, measured. But before he even finished, they pitted him. It was like playing chess with a Monopoly board. No reasoning, no counter-discussion. Just a box now. That's not strategy. That's autopilot. And Hamilton's feedback was practically ignored. He was losing grip, the car felt unstable, and yet his engineer called it quite balanced. It was like they were watching a different race, or didn't believe him. That's not just frustrating. That's dangerous. These are machines flying at over 300 kilometers per hour. If the brakes aren't working and the team doesn't listen, it's more than a strategy failure. It's a safety issue. By this point, Ferrari's pit wall didn't look like a group of experts. They looked like they were hoping nothing else would go wrong. But it already had. The drivers were furious. Fans were stunned. The meltdown was global, and now, as the dust settles, it's impossible to call this a one-off. It wasn't just a bad weekend. It was a warning siren. Leclerc, the quiet team player, sounds like he's done playing diplomat. He's tired of giving everything on track, only to be let down by indecision. Hamilton? He's been through title fights, political storms, championship collapses. But now? We're seeing disbelief, confusion. A man who came to Ferrari to build a legacy, not babysit a broken system. Neither is overreacting. They're not slamming the team. They're asking fair, logical questions and getting no answers. And how does Ferrari look from the outside? Not like a team regrouping for Austria, more like one that needs a total reset. The garage doesn't have the energy of a contender. It feels like a place where no one's on the same page. That's what makes these radio leaks so damaging. They didn't just expose one error. They exposed a culture where communication is broken, feedback is ignored, and even the most talented drivers are left guessing what the next plan might be, if there even is one. And the most alarming part, it's not getting better. Each race adds more confusion. Each awkward radio exchange chips away at trust. The fans notice, the media notice, most importantly, the drivers notice. Because you can't win titles when your drivers feel unheard. And right now, Ferrari doesn't sound like a team pushing forward. They sound like one trying to stop the wheels from falling off. That's the real issue. This wasn't a glitch. It was a preview of what happens when a team starts to lose its grip. If Ferrari doesn't fix this fast, they're not just risking points. They're risking something far more valuable. Lewis Hamilton's belief in the project, Charles Leclerc's loyalty to the team he's given everything to. Those aren't things you rebuild once they're gone. Because now everyone's heard the radio, the fans, the media, and the Ferrari board. Those voices weren't behind closed doors. They were live, raw, and impossible to ignore. This season isn't about whether Ferrari can build a fast car anymore. It's about whether they can hold it together long enough to matter. No one's watching to see if Ferrari will win the next race. They're watching to see what or who snaps first. The clock is ticking. And if nothing changes soon, this won't be the year Ferrari returned to glory. It'll be remembered as the year everything started to fall apart.